One. Hi, welcome to Game Creation, and this week we're looking at creating the tiles. So this is going to be quite exciting because the tiles we have been just a stretched out mosaic quick backdrop thing. We didn't really think about them much because we were focusing on the player and the player's movement. But now we've got to a point with that we can kind of test other things out. We really need to address those tiles because there's not really anything you can do in the game unless you've kind of thought the tiles through. Now you might think, if you've not used any kind of programming tool before, that you would have to sit there and manually place them one by one. I don't know of any game that's been released where the publisher has placed the tiles one by one in that way. We do it all with something called loops, which in programming is every single programming language, every single one beyond the very early ones, have loops. So the Clickteam's no different, and actually loops were introduced quite early on. I don't think they were introduced right at the start. I do seem to remember Click and Play maybe not having them at the start, but maybe that's just my memory. But to make them sound all cool, they're called fast loops. And I'm going to show you this week why they're called fast loops and why they're so amazing, like they really are fast. I'm going to show you the comparison with the alternative in tomorrow's video. But later in the week we're going to go through how you use loops. For tiles you will need to use something called nested loops, which in Friday's video we'll talk about. And we're also going to be introducing global variables. Now what global variables do is allow us to share values across the entire game, not just the frame you're on, but the entire game. There are other ways of doing that, and actually Clickteam have said themselves that they want to kind of expand that out, because at the moment you've got kind of 26 different values you can put, but every decent game has more than 26 values that they want to share across each frame, or across the whole game. So Clickteam are kind of on that, and I think that might be something that comes out with Clickteam 3, Fusion 3. However, you might say to me, oh no, they've already done it, and I'm still learning 2.5 plus. Maybe there's kind of options in there to do with global variables. But the way I'll talk about this briefly this week. The way I do it is probably what most people do is they create an active and make that active global to the game and store values in that. But we're going to be talking about scaling as well, and scaling is a topic that is not intuitive, and it relies on a bit of maths, and also relies on us remembering that you have to put a 0.0 after values if we want them to be seen as decimal rather than integer. I'm sure I will make that mistake in the video because I make it literally all the time when I'm like, oh hang on, that's supposed to be there. No, I didn't make it a decimal. And probably some of you watching who have used Clickteam for a while probably run into that issue all the time. I think the most frustrating thing for me was it was maybe a week into a project that I used this as a hobby, and it was a week into a project and I could not get past this bit. And I read in the forum, the Clickteam forum, those forums are amazing, and it said, oh, by the way, you've got to do that. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it's not obvious. And maybe Clickteam will think for future releases that there might be a better way of doing it, because the reason why it's done that way is because the language that Clickteam's built on was quite a strict language, or is quite a strict language, and I think they've kept in some bits of strictness as well, because when the original Click and Play was created, computers weren't that fast. I mean, yeah, I remember back at is it 486 days? Wow, how that ran anything. I remember waiting all night to install SimCity, the original SimCity, and then it loaded and just the computer went kaput. And it was the most basic game ever. Anyway, rambling aside, I hope you enjoy these videos. Please keep your comments coming in. Very, very nice to hear from you. Loads of people subscribing, which is really, really good. If you haven't already, please join us. I'm going to be releasing videos every single week for the rest of time. I tried to do this about 2 years ago and didn't last very long because I tried to do too much. So I'm trying to reduce the workload every week, but do little and often rather than try and do an ambitious project and then kind of burn out, because sometimes life gets in the way. I'm rambling too much. I'm going to stop the video there. But thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this week. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 7 PM UK time. Thank you.